So when you're recording your voice, having some effects really helps make your voice sound less dry, and it can even inspire you to sing better and probably just have more fun recording your voice in general. It's such a common thing people run into where they just don't like the sound of their voice, and to be honest, it kind of sabotages people's progress with their music. How many people you know, maybe even yourself, where you haven't finished writing that song because you just feel not good about your voice when you're recording it? And the funny thing is, there are some really logical reasons why you might not like what you hear when you record your voice. Besides the obvious cringe factor, which a lot of people go through, just in general, people judge their voices way too harshly. And when you think about it, you're recording your voice into a mono recording, no effects. You probably are not loud enough because you're using all these loops and samples, which are, very, very loud. And you might just be a little bit off pitch, and that could just totally destroy your self-esteem and just make you not want to record your vocals altogether. I feel like it happens to a lot of people. It's happened to me in my younger years. I constantly run into it when I work directly with artists, even amazing singers, people much better at singing than me. They just hate the sound of their dry vocal recording, and it can affect their performances when they're actually recording their vocals into their track. So what I want to build in this video, I want to show you how to build a live monitoring recording chain. So, vocal chains are a big topic for mixing, but this is going to be a much simpler tool because it's going to be light on your CPU. It's going to cover the three things that really help blend in your voice to the track when you're performing so that you have more fun singing into your track. But it's also going to be light on CPU, so it's not going to have an excessive amount of stuff. You could still use this with your laptop. If you record music with your laptop, you can have low latency settings. You can avoid all those troubles with latency, and you're also going to learn about macro tools so you can make this chain easy to customize, save snapshots, and you'll learn how to use a macro and program it. And like I said before, it's these three ideas that really help blend your voice into the track and just make live recording of your vocals more fun. I actually built this tool as part of a summer vocal production course that I'm doing right now on the Patreon. So if this is a topic that you find really important to you and just vocal production in general, feel free to check out the link in the description down below. That course is covering literally everything having to do with vocal production, recording, unison stacking, harmonies, comping, tuning, mixing, and mastering. It's all there. I'll leave that in a link in the description down below. Okay, so the three things that you want to have are auto shift, which is basically like the pitch or auto tune plugin in Ableton. We're also going to want to have the vocal hall preset, which is just a good solid sort of diffusion-y preset for Ableton stock reverb, and then the chorus ensemble stock plugin with Ableton. These three things, so managing a little bit of your pitch, having a good reverb, amount of reverb, kind of dry, wet, using that knob to kind of mix it into the track, and of course maybe some chorus ensemble, which also kind of helps with pitch, stereoizes your mono vocal recording and makes it wider in the mix, and helps out with pitch too. It kind of smooths out some pitch inconsistencies as well and gives it a nice kind of thicker sound. So here we have these three plugins. I'm going to hold down Shift and click so I can select all of these plugins. I'm going to hit Control G or Command G if you're on Macintosh, and that's going to group them together. So now you can actually build a chain that you could drag and drop into your user library and save it. But before we do that, we also want to create some macros, so this is a lot easier to use. And so right here, we're going to click on this button right here because normally the macro controls are actually hidden. And it's very easy to program macros. We're just going to click on the map button and everything's going to go green, showing you what you can actually map to each of these 8 macros. You can have more macros than 8 too, by the way. But basically I use this to keep things very simple, so I don't have to dive into menus, or I could even keep these things minimized and out of the way. And it's just really easy to save snapshots this way as well. So if I go to root and I click on that, I'm going to hit that on map. It's going to automatically select it as quantized root. So essentially you can just go in and change the key of your track just by moving that knob, which is really useful. I'm also going to do scale. I'm going to hit on the drop down menu and hit map there. So now I have those things. I can just change this to, let's say, key, and change this to scale or major/minor. Now, a lot of times with auto tune, it's very useful to just keep it simple. Even though the scale menu you can see right here has a lot of stuff in it, essentially with a lot of auto tune stuff, you're probably going to go for a major or a minor key. And even if your song is in a mode, you could arguably just use that strategy. So I want to keep these things simple. So what I'll do is hit map again, and up here in the top left, you can see how you can customize it. In this case, I'm just dragging these things up. So my only two options are major and minor. And so once I click off of it again, you can see that my auto tune plugin will just change to major or minor based on that knob, which is really useful. This is going to make it a lot easier to use this plugin kind of quickly, especially if you don't want to have to look at the interface every time you're working on a vocal track. And of course you can do other things, like I'll maybe map this as well to the tuning speed, which is really useful because a lot of times if your tuning speed is faster, it will sound a little more like a Travis Scott kind of hip hop sound where you can really hear the auto tune, as opposed to 100 milliseconds and up where it's a lot less apparent. I can also do this with the dry wet knob, which will basically kind of function like a chorusy sound if you don't mix in 100% wet with the auto tune. So all these things really come in handy. So this is going to make it very easy to sort of maximize how you want to set up your key and what scale you want, the speed, and the tune and wet. If you've ever wondered how to actually do macro programming, this can be a really useful thing for you. You can also change the color on these things. So if you want to color code things, that's also really useful. And there's other macros you might want to approach doing. Like for instance, I might do the dry wet with the reverb. I might do the decay amount for the reverb, the dry wet for the chorus, maybe the amount of chorus. I also tend to hit on the filter knob, which is going to filter out and high pass things. And the neat thing about macro tools is that if I decide to change the order, like a lot of times I like chorus after reverb because it gives a more modulated sound. But if you want the chorus before you hit the reverb, you can obviously change the order and it doesn't affect your macros at all. And you also have access to this randomizer button, which is really useful. But in order to use this with the key and the scale, which you might actually want to manually select, right? You just right click and go to exclude macro from randomization. And I do the same thing for the key. And this is going to make it able so that I can select my key and the scale that I got to auto tune at. And then I can just mess around with the vocal sound and kind of change around, see what I'm going for, and then tweak it from there. Of course, there's other things that go into kind of getting a more finished vocal sound, or even when you're just tracking your vocal, you might get kind of annoyed by certain things. Like you may have a very dark microphone and you might want to brighten up the sound or boost some of the higher frequencies. You can obviously do that just, separate from the actual chains. You can see here I have an EQ, a compressor, and that's kind of beefing up the sound of my vocal in this track. And then of course I have the live recording vocal chain. But these three things together are still really, really light on CPU because they're stock plugins. So it makes your life a lot easier, especially if you're using a laptop. People do run into CPU issues. So this can be really helpful for you to keep your latency settings very low and not be, just slamming your CPU every time you want to do some monitoring when you're recording your voice. Okay, so here's a little before and after where I have just a track that I've been working on. And here I have the dry vocal that I recorded in just now, really loose, really sloppy, not even a great take. Wait for your love to come and show the way. Now obviously it's kind of out of step, like the pitch isn't that great, it's kind of a lazy recording. But if I go in and turn on this chain, it's going to mix it into the track a lot more and give me a result that while I'm recording my vocal, I'm going to feel more confident in. Wait for your love to come and show the way. Yeah, so I hope you guys found this video useful. Having a live recording vocal chain is really, really useful. It's less stuff that you have to put onto your CPU, but can just make it more fun to hear your voice in a track. And yeah, if you want to download this one that I made, you can get that down below. There's also a bunch of videos there, ton of stuff on the Patreon. So I hope you found this useful and I hope it gives you some confidence with recording your voice, just having more fun and not judging your voice so harshly. Give yourself a little bit of pitch help, give yourself some reverb, stuff like that. And I guarantee you're going to have more fun and just be more confident in what you're doing. And so yeah, if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe if you're new here. I'll see you on the next one. Have fun making music.